these principles of free expression, of open inquiry, of um, thought pluralism and constructive dialogue and disagreement, those are fundamental things that we believe in at the University of Denver. And I want everyone to know that if you adhere to those principles and our values, of course, then we've got your back. We
Fascinating.
have your back. And the ways that we started doing that are organic ideas that have come from the faculty. So the Denver Dialogues, for example, is a wonderful initiative from our Joseph Corbell School for International Studies that really brings in partners like AEI, Hoover Institute, New America, and Aspen Institute, and brings in scholars from these think tanks to discuss in front of our students, faculty, and staff, issues that have some controversy on them. So whether it's immigration or congressional reform or democracy over the world and climate change, for example, these are hotly contested topics, and to see scholars have discussions that are very balanced and students walk away with the fact that you can have these discussions and disagree is really, really powerful.
And how often does a Denver dialogue occur? Is it once a year, twice a year?
It's at least once a quarter. So they're organized by, again, the Corbell School and the Scrivener Institute for Public Policy, which is part of the Corbell School. And they work really hard to really bring in this balanced kind of conversation for our students, faculty, and staff. They did it at the Aspen Institute a summer when there was a focus on security in particular. Of course, one of our famous alums is Condoleezza Rice, and she is, of course, the director of the Hoover Institute. So she kicked off our inaugural Denver Dialogue with the other leaders of those think tanks. And it was a marvelous gathering of diverse thought.
When was that? When did it kick off?
Geez, that was almost 2 years ago. So that would have been 23. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah.
And on those events, do you find that, so I ran a center at Brown that had something we called the Janus Forum, with the Janus Lecture Series, which was 2 speakers and conversation.
Yep.
What we found early on was that sometimes we'd get 2 speakers who were really combative with each other. A memorable one for me was the topic was justice, gender, and the American dream. And we had Harvey Mansfield, the well-known conservative from Harvard, who had just written a book called Manliness, pitted up against Catherine McKinnon, who a very famous feminist law professor and philosopher. And it was an incredible event, but it was kind of like a combat on stage. And we were worried that the student experience was really sort of passively watching an exchange of ideas rather than actually, what we cared about was the students, what happened in their minds, and did they change? I'm just wondering, have you had that experience with the Denver Dialogues? Are there any, is it passive? Do you have any sense that it's actually active? Is it having the effect on students that you want it to have, or does it become a spectator sport?
It's a great question. One of the things, of course, that we always insist on doing is having a robust Q&A of the speakers. And Corbell School does a really good job at empowering students to ask questions along the way.
Nice.
So I think from our student perspective, it has this potential for really engaging students and not be passive around this. The other idea that we've had modest successes is to build little follow-up seminars around the discussions that are student-focused, and faculty lead those discussions in order to help the students think, well, break down the arguments that all the speakers presented, and which ones did you feel, carried your thoughts along the way, and did they argue persuasively? So we need to do more of that, but I think that is a great example of that. It is sinking in. If I may, I can also talk about the debate across the curriculum, because
please.
This is an innovation from one of our most respected faculty members, former president of the Faculty Senate. He was a longtime debate coach, so he believes firmly in the power of debate as a pedagogical tool. So he's introduced this notion of debate across the curriculum, much like kind of writing across the curriculum is. And what he has done is to bring non-competitive debate into the classrooms. Whatever faculty member who's teaching a particular first-year seminar or senior seminar might be open to, and they take 3 class periods. That's non-trivial in a quarter system. And they introduce the idea of a non-competitive debate. They select the topic which is relevant to the course. They break the students into 2 different groups rather randomly so that they don't necessarily choose the side that they're comfortable with. In fact, it's much better if they don't. They research and then they come back and they offer their positions on it. So it's not really a back and forth. But then there's this moderated question period. And that's where students really become engaged. They on the 3rd visit, they debrief, of course. But what's really gratifying from my perspective is they do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment.
Nice.
And they look at politicization and the affective approach behind that. And there is statistically relevant data now showing that it is changing kind of hearts and minds of our students. They feel more empowered that they can enter into discussions when there is a controversial issue. They know that research and the behavior of how they conduct themselves is really important in that process. And that's what is really taught in that thing. So,
And so what really strikes me is that you're measuring this. You're not just
yes,
saying we put on the event. This is what we're seeing at some universities so far, maybe the first stage of a transition towards more heterodoxy on campus,
Yeah.
is that people are now organizing events like the one you described, but they often don't measure. And they don't, and that's maybe the future stage will be they will measure
Sure, yeah.
and see what the impacts are.
Yeah.
But it's a sign that it's not merely performative because you're actually finding out whether it works or not.
It is actually working. Now, what we don't know is how sticky is that
Good.
change in students' hearts and minds, right? So
Right.
we're trying to figure out longitudinally, can we show that this debate across the curriculum is having a deep impact in the lives of the students during their time at the University of Denver and then even beyond.